Hello and welcome to the Rainy Night Listens podcast. I'm Hailey.
And I'm Wyatt, and this is the podcast that you save for a rainy night instead of a rainy day.
Alrighty, today we are going to be talking about Amelia Earhart. What do you know about her?
Well,
Give me every single thing you know.
She flew a plane. Mm-hmm. She was really good at it. Mm-hmm. Then one day she crashed. Mm-hmm. And was never found. Mm-hmm. Because the CIA ate her and blamed it on crabs, specifically coconut crabs.
Well, I guess that's the end of this episode since you just spoiled it. So thanks a lot. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, we're still going. Okay, sorry.
Yep. I'll give what happened before that.
Oh, okay.
Amelia Mary Earhart was born on July 24th, 1897, to Samuel Stanton Earhart and Amelia Earhart in Atchison, Kentucky. It was a family custom for the girls to be named after their two grandmothers, so her first name came from one grandmother, and her middle name came from her other grandmother. Growing up, she was described as being a tomboy. She would spend countless hours roaming the neighborhood with her sister, climbing trees, hunting rats with rifles, and catching worms and bugs for their collection. At the age of 7 or 8, along with the help of one of her uncles, she made a ramp that was secured to the roof of their tool shed and was based off of a roller coaster she had seen on a trip with her family. She went down, and after crashing, she climbed out of the broken wooden box she used as a sled with a torn dress, a fat lip, and exclaimed, "It's just like flying."
Man, she got a better headspace than me, that's
right. I would have like, all right, that's the last time.
That wasn't even fun anyways.
That's it. I'm going inside to get some candy. In 1907, her father moved to Des Moines, Iowa. At the age of 10, Amelia saw her first airplane at the state fair in Iowa. And now you would think that this would be the spark that caused her to become one of the most famous pilots in history. However, after seeing the plane, she described it as a thing of rusty wire and wood and not at all interesting, and then asked to go back to the rides.
That's crazy. This is not your average Disney backstory.
No, classic child behavior.
Yeah,
the adults are like, "No, this is really cool," and she's like, "Can I go ride the rides again, please?"
That's cool and all, but you see that roller coaster?
You see how there's like fun stuff over there? Amelia and her sister stayed in Atchison, Kentucky with their grandparents while their parents lived in Des Moines and were homeschooled. And while there, Amelia spent countless hours in the library reading. In 1909, they were actually able to move to Des Moines with their parents, and Amelia was enrolled in public school for the first time at the age of 12. However, soon after this, her father was forced to retire because he was an alcoholic, and so with this happening, her grandmother actually ended up passing away shortly after. And Amelia was quoted later as saying that those events marked the end of her childhood.
Oh, that's so dark.
It's so sad, huh?
What the heck?
So in 1915, the family moved again to St. Paul, Minnesota, after Edwin was able to find work there. Unfortunately, though, after they had moved, the position that he had accepted was given back to the original employee who had left, so he became unemployed. So Amy, their mother, took both Amelia and her sister to Chicago, where they stayed with some friends. After moving to Chicago, Amelia went from high school to high school looking for the one with the best science program. She rejected many of them by saying that their chemistry labs looked like old kitchen sinks, and so she had her sights set on a school that had a good science program.
Wow.
And she finally settled on Hyde Park High School, which is where she ended up graduating from. While going to high school, she collected and kept a scrapbook of newspaper clippings that talked about mainly male-dominated fields such as law, film production, mechanical engineering, and marketing. And once she graduated, she began studying at Ogant's School in Rydal, Pennsylvania, but ended up dropping out before finishing her degree. In 1917, Amelia took a Christmas trip to Toronto, Canada to visit her sister. While on this trip, she saw wounded soldiers that were returning from World War I and was so moved that she began training as a nurse's aide with the Red Cross. She got a job with the Spadina Military Hospital with the Voluntary Aid Detachment and worked on preparing meals for patients and handing out medication. While working there, she began to hear stories about pilots in the military, which is what sparked her interest in flying.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a spontaneous decision is what like drove her down the path that she went down for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Like decided to go visit her sister, saw the wounded soldiers, and then became a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting how like everything was kind of leading up to her becoming the pilot that she did.
Because it seems like she had her sights set pretty dang high.
Yeah.
Growing up, like she wanted to go into something pretty big.
Yeah. In November of 1918, while working at that same hospital, she came down with pneumonia and a sinus infection and was actually hospitalized. She was discharged the following month, but she was still in immense pain because they didn't have antibiotics to help and had undergone unsuccessful procedures that were super painful that were supposed to help with it, but didn't. And she actually suffered from chronic sinusitis for the rest of her life and sometimes would even have to wear a bandage on her cheek that would cover a drainage tube that was inserted to help alleviate pressure in her sinuses.
Wow.
In 1920, Amelia, while visiting an airfair in Toronto with a friend, went to a clearing where they were going to watch an exhibition being put on by a World War I ace. Upon seeing Amelia and her friend, the ace dove at them with his aircraft after he saw them like in the clearing. But Amelia refused to jump out of the way out of fear. She was quoted later as saying, "I did not understand it at the time, but I believe that little red airplane said something to me as it swished by."
Wow.
Yep. In December of that year, she and her father attended an aerial meet in California where she asked her father to inquire about flying lessons. Amelia was taken on a 10-minute passenger flight the next day, and she was quoted afterwards as saying, "By the time I had gotten 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew I had to fly." 1 month later, she had signed a contract with Netta Snook to be her flight instructor. The contract cost $500 for flight instruction, which is about the equivalent of $8,000 today.
Holy crap.
She had already worked multiple different jobs to save for this cost, including working as a photographer, a truck driver, and a stenographer. And from those jobs, she was able to save about $1,000, which is the equivalent of about $16,000 today.
She was a woman on a mission.
Yeah, dude.
She was not going to stop till she got what she wanted.
No.
You gotta respect her for that.
Yeah, like the drive is insane. Her first lesson took place on January 3rd, 1921. The plane she used was a Curtiss JN-4 that Netta Snook had restored after it had crashed. While training, Amelia cut her hair short to match the fashion of the other female aviators, and in mid-1921, she successfully completed her training.
Wow. She finished her training in a year? Well, maybe
Yeah.
even less than a year, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize that was all it took. They always make it
I
out.
guess it was actually closer to half a year because she started on January 3rd of 21 and then finished in mid 1921.
Wow. That's crazy.
Right. She purchased her first plane, which was a used chromium yellow Kinner Airster biplane, which she nicknamed the Canary.
That's cool.
I figured you would appreciate that, being a lover of the color yellow
Yeah,
yourself.
I gotta respect that. That's awesome.
Once she completed her first solo trip, she purchased a new leather flying coat. But after being teased for having a new coat, she purposefully aged it by sleeping in it and putting stains on it purposefully using aircraft oil.
Man, she was like,
She took that stuff
she
seriously.
wanted to be part of that crowd.
Mm-hmm. On October 22nd, 1922, at the age of 25, Amelia Earhart flew the Canary to an altitude of 14,000 feet and set the world record for female pilots. On May 16th, 1923, she became the 16th woman in the United States to officially receive her pilot's license.
Wow. I guess it might not have come up. What was the name of the lady who was her instructor?
Netta Snook.
Was she also part of those 15 previous to her that got their pilot's license? Or
I would assume so if she was an instructor.
yeah, like a licensed instructor. It
Yeah.
just made me wonder because she had to have, or, it was just one of those things. I was just curious, that's all.
During this time, though, her inheritance from her grandmother had run out. Unable to afford it any longer, she was forced to sell the Canary
Aww.
and instead purchased a yellow Kissel Goldbug Speedster, which she called the Yellow Peril. I love that name so much.
The Yellow Peril.
It makes me so happy.
Her aesthetic is amazing.
Right, dude? She was
The way
killing it.
She chooses to do things is awesome.
She's so chaotic.
It is.
In early 1924, pain from her sinuses worsened, and she had to be hospitalized again and underwent yet another unsuccessful operation. After this, she took her mother on a road trip from California, and they ended up in Boston, Massachusetts, where she underwent yet another operation, which ended up being mostly successful. So she still had like the pain and needed it drained and everything, but it wasn't nearly as bad as it had been up to that point.
From California to Boston, that's pretty far.
Yeah, that's like across country.
Yeah, I was gonna say across the entirety almost.
Yeah.
She was breaking in the Yellow Peril.
She enrolled at Columbia University with plans to continue on to MIT, but had to drop out because the tuition was too expensive. And then she ended up in Medford, Massachusetts, where she worked as a sales representative for Kinner Aircraft and joined the American Aeronautical Society's Boston chapter and was actually elected as their vice president.
Wow. I mean, heck, she had the credentials, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. She ended up investing in an airport and performed the first official flight out of it in 1927. And she also began writing newspaper columns that were in support of aviation and worked on plans to create an organization for female flyers.
Wow.
And with that, it is time
I wasn't ready.
for Hagen's historical word of the day.
We had that plan. Hagen. 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 I love that word.
Dude, that's such a good word.
It is. You can use it in so many different ways.
So many ways.
The.
But back to the Yellow Peril.
Oh, yeah. The Yellow Peril.
In early 1928, a woman by the name of Amy Phipps Guest, who was an American heiress and was the daughter of Andrew Carnegie's business partner, Henry Phipps Jr., announced that she intended to be the first woman to cross the Atlantic by air after Charles Lindbergh's successful flight.
Wow.
So, not pilot it, but be the first one to cross the Atlantic in an airplane, like the first female to cross.
Yeah.
She assembled a team of some of the top aviation professionals to help her with the flight, including mechanics, pilots, a head pilot, and other aviators who would set different records.
Mm.
She also purchased a Fokker FV-11B tri-motor from Richard E. Byrd, which I don't know if you remember his name, but he's the one that we talked about a little bit in the Hollow Earth Theory video, who went to the Antarctic and made a whole bunch of those expeditions.
Wow.
But this lady purchased the plane from him. But upon learning of her intent to be a passenger on this flight, her family reacted by threatening to quit what they were all doing, to return back, and to stop her from doing it because of how dangerous it was deemed.
Wow. Holy crap.
So after receiving this pressure,
Yeah.
she decided she was no longer going to attempt the flight. However, she was still determined to see a woman achieve this success.
Ah.
And in order to qualify for this, she set the standards that the woman needed to be a pilot, well-educated, well-mannered, physically attractive, and had to be American.
Physically attractive was an important...
It was the early 1900s.
I was gonna say I get why they threw that out there, but
like, we don't want some uggo out here.
we want no uggo setting records. Okay, we only have beautiful people in the history books.
Yeah, they're the only ones.
It's crazy though.
So in April of that year, George Palmer Putnam, the publicist who had worked with Charles Lindbergh on his autobiography, learned of Amy Guest's aspirations and promptly decided that he also wanted to be involved.
Huh.
He, along with Captain Hilton Rayleigh, reached out to their friend, Rear Admiral Reginald R. Belknap in Boston, and told him of the type of woman that they were looking for. And upon hearing the criteria, he replied by saying, "Call Dennison House and ask for Amelia Earhart."
Wow. Directly recommended. That's insane. And she did. She fit all. She fit, like, she had a license. Seeing as how there's only around 16 people, 16 females in the United States who had pilot's license. So that's awesome.
After receiving the phone call and agreeing to meet them, Amelia Earhart, although skeptical, met them at their office. Hilton Rayleigh reportedly knew immediately that she was the one who they wanted for this, and asked, "How would you like to be the first woman to cross the Atlantic?" Amelia agreed as long as her conditions were met. She made it very clear that she did not wish to be merely a passenger, and that she wanted to take a turn actually flying the plane on the trip. She also would hold the title of commander aboard the Friendship, which was the airplane that they would be taking, and she would be granted final authority over policy, procedure, personnel, and any other issues that might arise during the flight. And they agreed to her demands, and they began preparations.
So basically she put herself in a position where she was in, like, control of the operation.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, like, rather than only being a passenger, she would have a hand in the completion of the flight.
Yeah, I feel like I understand why she did that too, because being all for, like, women's progression, it understands that she put herself in a higher position, so they couldn't be like, oh yeah, she just rode in the plane the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, she saw what she wanted.
And she went for it.
She went for it.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, you get told no, but if you don't try, it's always a no.
Yeah, that's true. You don't own a car named the Yellow Peril unless you're willing to make sacrifices.
Dude, it makes me so happy. I don't know why it brings me so much joy, but, like, just the yellow plane to the yellow speedster kills me.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's awesome.
On June 3rd, 1928, the Friendship attempted 3 times unsuccessfully to take off.
What?
They determined that they needed to decrease the amount of weight on the plane and unloaded 6 5-gallon fuel cans and their backup pilot volunteered to leave so that the weight requirements were met.
Oh, yeah, because the fuel's the first thing you should jettison if you're having weight problems.
Yeah, you don't want the fuel or the backup pilot.
Yeah, or the two very important things.
Very unimportant.
Very unimportant.
Very easily dismissed.
Yes. That's this makes me sad. I already know how this story ends.
They began their fourth attempt, and after 67 seconds, they were able to lift off of the water and head north towards Trepassey, Newfoundland.
Wow.
They arrived on June 5th after they had to make an unexpected landing in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Was it for fuel?
Probably. This says it was due to poor weather, was what I found, but I'm sure that fuel
maybe something that a backup maybe pilot fuel? Could have helped them through.
Maybe a backup pilot? Hint, hint.
Maybe their pilot was having problems and needed a backup.
You know.
Maybe their fuel was running low. I don't know.
Oh no, who knows?
Could be anything, honestly.
Amelia Earhart described the landing in Trepassey as chaotic due to the weather conditions.
Due to the fact that our plane was empty.
Yeah, there was no weight left.
It was a very light plane. We could not land very easily.
It just kept lifting off over and over again.
The wind, it just caught the wings and lifted us.
Strong, like it just
full on 180.
Full on flip. On June 17th, so 12 days after they had landed in Nova Scotia, Amelia Earhart saw that the sky had cleared up a little bit. So she began pushing for them to take off, much to the objection of pilot Wilmer Stoltz, who was reportedly very hungover. They ended up taking off that same day, but due to fog, cloud cover, and having to rely entirely on instrument flying versus visual flying, Amelia was unable to take control of the plane during this segment. Instead, she kept the flight logs and helped with navigation checks. After a few hours, they saw the SS America, which was an ocean liner, and they were hoping to use the liner as a way to confirm their position. Unfortunately, though, the airplane's radio had failed, so they couldn't use it. But upon seeing the plane circling them, the captain of the SS America recognized them and sent his crew with chalk to write their location on the deck for them.
That's awesome.
But before they were able to finish it, the Friendship had stopped circling and left.
Gosh dang it!
How crazy is that, though? That dude looked up and he was like, holy crap, like, I know who that is.
I know who that is. Hey, respectfully, if we ever, go on a very extended trip, the vehicle better effing work. The radio better effing work. We better not jettison all of the excess fuel that we need and our extra pilot.
Is fuel really even that important, be honest?
Let's be real. You only need enough to get where you're going.
Exactly.
Yeah, not, you
don't need to prep for just in case.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about maybe the weather's bad and we gotta land early.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
After 21 hours in the air, the Friendship eventually was able to identify an estuary that led to an industrial town and landed. This estuary was in between two towns called Buryport and Poole and Carmarthenshire, Wales. Captain Hilton Rayleigh soon arrived from where they were originally supposed to meet the crew, and shortly after that, all of the reporters followed. Amelia Earhart had officially become the first woman to cross the Atlantic by plane, and the reporters were all interested in talking to her specifically. While being interviewed, though, she made it a point to give the credit to the official pilots, and she stated, "Bill did all the flying. Had to. I was just baggage, like a sack of potatoes. Maybe someday I'll try it alone."
Oh, no.
Which was so sad.
It is. You could tell she really wanted to.
Yeah.
But there were just restrictions that she couldn't.
Yeah.
Dang.
On June 19th, the Friendship began their departure to officially complete their flight, but they were quickly waved down. They didn't realize it, but a gentleman named Sir Arthur Whitten Brown, who was the first man to successfully complete a nonstop flight across the Atlantic, had flown all the way out with his family to give Amelia Earhart a bouquet of flowers as a congratulations on being the first woman to complete it.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, so thankfully they saw them in time and stopped before leaving so that the two could actually meet.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, they had to like wave the plane down
Yeah,
like,
wait, wait.
And then upon completing their flight to Southampton and then returning to the United States, Amelia Earhart and the rest of the crew were honored with a parade in New York City. They were then invited to the White House, where they were formally recognized by President Calvin Coolidge, and the group was presented with multiple awards, and Earhart became a prominent public figure because of this accomplishment.
Wow.
The public reportedly found her very endearing because of her modesty, and she was so charismatic and like soft-spoken. Like people loved her. She went on a lecture tour that went from 1928 to 1929 and began endorsing different products with the help of George Palmer Putnam. She was appointed by Transcontinental Air Transport to help promote air travel with a specific aim at women, and she also helped with setting up the Ludington Airline, which was the first shuttle that operated between Washington, D.C. and New York.
Wow.
In addition to that, she was appointed as the Vice President of National Airways. During this time, she became engaged to a gentleman named Samuel Chapman, who was an engineer from Boston, but she ended up breaking off the engagement in November of 1928. In August of 1928, Amelia Earhart piloted a solo flight across North America, becoming the first woman to do so. In 1930, she was appointed as an official of the National Aeronautic Association, where she promoted separate record keeping for women's records, and later helped push the same system with the Federation Aeronautic International.
Like I said, she had goals and she was going to accomplish them.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a could or maybe. It was I'm going to.
Yeah. She was making leaps and bounds for women, for sure. On February 7th of 1931, Amelia Earhart married George P. Putnam after turning down his marriage proposals 6 times.
Wow.
Many considered this to be more of a marriage of convenience rather than one of love, and Amelia Earhart was quoted as calling her marriage a partnership with dual control. On the day of their wedding, she actually wrote him a letter that stated, "I want you to understand I shall not hold you to any medieval code of faithfulness to me, nor shall I consider myself bound to you similarly.
Wow.
I may have to keep some place where I can go to be by myself now and then, for I cannot guarantee to endure at all times the confinement of even an attractive cage."
What the heck?
So pretty much like an open marriage is what it was sounding like.
She had a very open marriage.
Yeah. Amelia also kept her own last name rather than taking his, and she believed it was both of their responsibilities to take care of everything and earn the money in the relationship. On April 8th in 1931, she set the new world altitude record by flying up to 18,145 feet.
Just straight up, just the world record for it?
Yeah.
Wow.
At the age of 34, she set out to pilot a solo flight across the Atlantic. She planned to take the same route that Charles Lindbergh had taken and land in Paris upon completion. While flying, she had to handle strong winds, icy conditions, and mechanical issues. After 14 hours and 56 minutes, she safely landed in a pasture in Northern Ireland, and it was reported that a farmhand walked up to her and asked her, "Have you flown far?" To which she replied, "From America."
Dude's like, I'm sorry, what?
He's like, excuse me?
Excuse me? You guys just be doing anything nowadays.
It's like, those people are crazy.
People are nuts.
It's like, why are you in my field?
For real. That's really cool and all. Why are you here?
What?
What was the goal?
For this feat, she'd received the Distinguished Flying Cross from the United States Congress, the Cross of Knight of the Legion of Honor from the French government, and the Gold Medal of the National Geographic Society from President Herbert Hoover.
Wow.
She also, during this time, developed a very close friendship with Eleanor Roosevelt. And
That makes sense. It makes sense.
kind of checks out.
I
right?
literally almost said, like, she's starting to give off, like, the same vibes Eleanor Roosevelt. From the stories I've heard, these two are very similar.
Yeah, so those two were buddies. Like, they were very close friends.
Yeah, it does not surprise me at all.
On January 11th of 1935, she became the first pilot to successfully take a solo trip from Honolulu, Hawaii to Oakland, California. Her flight was good, and she had no mechanical issues, and she was reportedly listening to an opera that was being broadcast from New York as she was finishing up her flight.
Wow.
So just chill.
Just chilling, flying the plane, listening to opera.
In April, piloting her Lockheed Vega that she nicknamed Old Bessie the Fire Horse.
When she do it, she go hard. Okay?
She's so chaotic. She completed a solo flight from Mexico City to New York. Amelia Earhart competed in the 1935 Bendix Trophy, which was a long-distance air race. She finished 5th, which doesn't seem great until you realize that her plane could only go a maximum of 195 miles per hour, while others participating in the race could reach speeds of up to 300 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think at some point they realized that everybody needed to be on even playing grounds when it came to competition.
Right.
It's kind of ridiculous that their planes were just straight up faster.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But she still got fit, though.
Mm-hmm. In addition to these feats, she also set 7 other speed and distance records in multiple different types of planes.
She'd just be flying anything.
She be flying.
She be flying.
During this time, a fire broke out in Amelia Earhart's and George Putnam's home, and it destroyed many of their personal belongings. So they decided to move to the West Coast. And in September of 1935, she co-founded a flight school and also joined Purdue University as a visiting faculty member who counseled women on careers. She was also a technical advisor to the Department of Aeronautics at Purdue. In 1936, Earhart began preparations for her flight around the world. Her flight path would be the longest trip taken around the Earth because it would hug the equator and put her total miles at around 29,000.
Holy crap.
So other people at this point in time had already made flights around the world, but she would be the first female to do it, and it would be the longest route as well.
Makes you wonder, how is there a shorter or longer path around the world? Like, it's kind of like diameter being this, they'd fly like the shorter parts of it.
Yeah, because I think where she was hugging the equator, she was going.
It was like the full diameter of the Earth. That's fair. Versus like, moving in any direction, it's a smaller circle versus the exact center. I think, I don't know. I understand it, but it's hard to explain
No,
in
yeah,
words.
I got you. Purdue University established the Amelia Earhart Fund for Aeronautical Research and paid out $50,000 to help purchase the Lockheed Electra 10E plane for her to use on this flight.
Wow.
That $50,000 is the equivalent of about $1.16 million today. This plane was built with modifications, including extra fuel tanks to better suit her needs for circumnavigating the globe.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's really smart.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Because not like earlier where you want to have to throw the fuel cans
maybe,
off the plane.
I don't know, leave them in the airport.
Yeah.
I'm never forgetting about that. I just want you to know.
I will never forgive them.
I will never forgive them for that.
Interesting side note is that at that point in time, whenever she was the first woman who was on a plane that crossed the Atlantic, I guess that there was another lady who was also on a plane at the same place, and she saw that they were getting ready to take off, and she was trying to beat Amelia Earhart, but her pilots wouldn't go for it, and so she ended up not being the first one.
There's someone actually like challenging Amelia for first woman across the... That's crazy.
Right.
And they even stopped somewhere for a significant amount of time, too. That's hilarious.
So, initially, a gentleman named Harry Manning was chosen to be her navigator because of his experience as a captain, pilot, and radio operator who also knew Morse code. However, after some test flights, George Putnam was concerned that he wasn't precise enough with his measurements, even though others who reviewed his navigation skills and things on the test flights said that everything was within reasonable amounts of error. And so, but granted, you want to be crazy careful on something like this, I'm sure. But so they ended up dismissing him as the navigator for this flight.
Oh. Wow.
After doing some research and using contacts they had, they found Fred Noonan. Fred was a captain, had experience in maritime navigation and in flight navigation, and had just recently finished up in a role being an air instructor. At the age of 39, on March 17th, 1937, Amelia Earhart attempted to take off to officially start their journey. They were taking off from Oakland, California, and were going to head for Honolulu, Hawaii. However, upon attempting to take off, the plane crashed. Thankfully, everyone was okay, and according to witnesses, people believe that they saw one of the front tires blow, which caused the landing gear to collapse and resulted in both propellers hitting the ground.
Yeah.
But others believe it was due to a mistake made by Amelia Earhart, but no one knows exactly what caused the crash.
Gotcha.
While waiting for the plane to be repaired, their radio operator left the team, which caused Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan to be the only people that were going to be going on this flight. The winds and weather reports had also changed, and so they had to adjust their flight route to actually go in the opposite direction of where they were going to go. So instead of flying west, they were now going to fly east around the Earth.
It's a pretty big change to just do last minute.
Yeah. On May 20th, the pair took off from Oakland, California, and then hit Tucson, Arizona, New Orleans, Louisiana, and then Miami, Florida. On June 1st, they took off from Miami and flew to Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Suriname, Brazil, Senegal, French Sudan, Chad, Eritrea, and British India. At this time, they were the first people to have ever completed a nonstop flight from the Red Sea to India. So They set a record there. On June 19th, they took off for Burma and then went to Siam, Singapore, and the Dutch East Indies. Their flights here were delayed due to a monsoon, and they also had to have repairs done on the plane, and Amelia got sick with dysentery.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so she had to get medication and everything to help her recover before they took off. On June 28th, they made it to Australia, where they had a repair completed on their direction finder and ended up removing the parachutes that were in the plane and sent them home. I'm not sure why.
You look me in the eyes.
Yeah.
You tell me they got rid of the parachutes.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know.
I just want to know why.
Just why?
If there's a valid reason, I'd drop it, but
Yeah.
the parachutes.
You know.
The parachutes.
You know. Yep. On June 28th, they made it to Australia. I already said that again. Then they flew from Australia to Lae, New Guinea. At this point, they only had 3 destinations left on their trip.
Man, look at that face. You wouldn't even have known that she had dysentery a week ago.
Right? That's the face of someone who only has 3 stops left before they've made history again.
Yeah, for the 17th time in the last 20 years.
Yeah. They needed to fly to Howland Island, which was around 2,223 nautical miles away, and then to Honolulu, which was another 1,900 nautical miles away, and then finally back to Oakland, which would be an additional 2,400 nautical miles.
Wow.
And these were the 3 longest legs of the flight route. And again, because of what had happened earlier, instead of starting with these 3 that are just over open ocean, they're ending with the 3.
That does kind of suck. That plane's been through some wear and tear.
Yeah. On July 2nd, 1937, at 10 a.m., Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan took off from Lae and were heading towards Howland Island. Howland Island is about 6,500 feet long and about 1,600 feet wide, and is just surrounded by ocean. And they would be spending the next 20 hours flying there.
Oh my gosh.
In order to assist with communication and navigation, the U.S. Coast Guard sent the USCGC Itasca to Howland Island. They were going to communicate with Earhart and Noonan, as well as run their boilers so that they could put up a dark smokestack that could be seen over the horizon.
That's smart. Just because I feel like when you're flying over nothing but ocean, it's kind of hard to spot an island, I imagine. It's hard,
especially a flat one. Like, I think it said, like, the highest point on the island it went up, like, 10 feet. Like, it was...
What?
It was flat.
The island's just flat.
Yeah, like, not a mountain or anything, just flat.
Wow.
At 3 p.m., Amelia Earhart reported that they had hit an altitude of 10,000 feet, but that there were thick clouds, so they're going to fly lower to avoid them. At about 5 p.m., she reported their altitude at 7,000 feet. And at this point, the Itasca was able to hear them loud and clear, but it seemed like they were unable to hear what they were saying back to them. At 2:45 a.m. on July 2nd, they heard her report that it was overcast, and then they heard her again at 5 a.m. checking in. At 6:14 a.m., they received another transmission stating that they believed they were within 200 miles of Howland Island and were requesting that the Itasca use their direction finder to assist them with where they were in relation to the island. Amelia Earhart then began whistling into the radio to help them pick it up to get a direction, but the Itasca was unable to tune in on them. At 6:45 a.m., they received a similar transmission asking for assistance with their location and that they were an estimated 100 miles away. Sometime between 7:30 and 7:40 a.m., it was estimated that Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan only had about a half hour of fuel left, and that they thought that they were near the Itasca, but they were unable to locate it at their altitude of 1,000 feet. At 7:58 a.m., Amelia Earhart stated that she could not hear the Itasca and asked them to send voice signals so that she could try to get her bearings. This radio exchange was reported as being the loudest that the Itasca had received, so they believed that the aircraft was within their vicinity. but they were unable to send a signal by speaking because of something going on with their radios. So they began sending Morse code, and Amelia acknowledged receiving it, but she was unable to determine what direction it was coming from. The final transmission to the Itasca was received from Amelia Earhart, where she stated that they were flying along a north-south position on 157-337 degrees, and the Itasca attempted to reach them again using both vocal transmissions and Morse code transmissions, but didn't hear anything again. Around 1 hour after they had last heard from Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan, search efforts began. The Itasca searched both north and west of the island, and the United States Navy also joined in the search. The official search lasted all the way until July 19th, and in total around $4 million was spent on the search efforts, which is equal to a little over $90 million today. George Putnam also put together a private search team. However, no trace of Amelia Earhart, Fred Noonan, or their aircraft was ever found during these searches. Amelia Earhart was declared legally dead on January 5th, 1939.
It's crazy.
So sad,
Makes
huh?
you wonder, like, just with distance like that, flying distance like that, it's like, what percentage were they off, like, that straight shot? Because even, like, 1% of a distance like that, you end up, like, way off your mark.
Like, even if you held steady that whole time, like, if you were off, the farther and farther you go, the further and further away from...
Yeah, exactly.
That's the saddest part that, like, bugs me so much about this, is that
they were clearly close at some point. Like, they were close enough that the radio was as clear as could be.
Yeah.
But...
And they only had this portion to cover. But if that wouldn't have happened on the runway, whenever they initially were taking off, they would have covered
the worst part
worst part where it's completely over open ocean. Because if you look at all of the rest of these, like, you're at least over land for the majority, if not
and they're all
almost
closer
all
together.
of it. Yeah. And so, like, it's just so sad that by the time they got to the end of their trip and everything was breaking down and wasn't working, that it was in, like, the worst possible spot that it could have happened was where it had happened.
Yeah, it sucks.
Mm-hmm. So, what do people think happened to her?
CIA ate her.
That's one theory.
It wasn't the crabs.
It wasn't the crabs.
It was not the crabs.
Not those mud crabs.
Yeah, not those coconut.
Oh yeah, that's Skyrim.
The mud crabs.
Not bad.
Everybody knows the CIA ate her. Okay.
Yep, the end.
The end.
One theory is the Japanese capture theory. Those who believe in this theory think that the Japanese forces captured Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan after they flew to the Japanese South Seas Mandate, which covered the area where they disappeared. There have been reportedly witnesses that include members of Japanese troops and Saipan natives who claim to have heard of or been involved in their disappearance. There are also photos of what looks like a couple of people who could be Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan on an atoll surrounded by military-looking people after the crash had supposedly taken place. And so some people think that they were picked up after they had crashed and were held as prisoners and then died as prisoners. Which this has all been fought against by Japan. They say that they did not take her as a captive and all of that fun stuff. But
I mean, I'd say, like, it kind of makes no sense either. But at the same time, you never know with world powers and how they do things. So
yeah. Another theory is the New Britain theory. Those who believe in this one think she actually turned back mid-flight to attempt to reach New Britain. This area was located around 2,200 miles away from Howland Island, which was their original destination. A gentleman named Donald Angwin, a World War II veteran of the Australian Army, claimed that in 1945 he had seen a wrecked aircraft in the jungle of that island that he believed may have been the plane that carried Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan. However, upon searching the area, no wreckage has ever been found. A third theory is the Gardner Island theory that states the crew either landed or crash landed onto this island or near this island after being unable to locate Howland Island. And it is there have been reports that there were distress signals coming from the vicinity of Gardner Island for 3 to 6 days after they went missing. And upon searching the island, reportedly bits of metal were found, a medicine bottle cap that was supposedly the same style that would have been used for stomach medication was found, and parts of a woman's shoe that looked similar to the type of shoes she wore whenever she flew were also found. But none of it has been officially confirmed or anything. And most historians believe that Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan ran out of fuel and crashed somewhere in the Pacific Ocean around the vicinity of Howland Island and sunk. What do you think?
I know what I think. I'm just kidding.
It's not like you haven't been telling us the whole time.
It was them crabs. It wasn't even the crabs.
It was the CIA.
The CIA ate her and blamed it on the crabs. Everybody knows that.
Everybody.
I don't know. I genuinely don't know what to think.
Yeah.
I do imagine with her know-how, you'd like to imagine that she wouldn't have just gone down in the ocean, you know?
Yeah. I feel like them being at the end of it and where they'd already had things breaking down on the plane and were having to have repairs done throughout the trip, especially towards the end of the trip, and that being such a tiny island in the middle of the ocean, I feel like it was all kind of like the odds were stacked against them, because also in addition to that, again, like they're coming up on the end of their journey, which you're going to be exhausted. You're going to be like just so sleep deprived.
Yeah, and out of it.
And they had to fly 20 hours to get to
a specific
this very, very tiny flat island.
Yeah.
With malfunctioning equipment. Like I feel like I don't know. Again, I feel like if it would have happened the opposite way, where they were flying west,
she wouldn't have been lost.
I don't think that she would have been lost, because it would have been so early on in the trip that
either they realized the plane wasn't going to make it, or either the plane was going to be in poor condition, but the stops were very close together and could at least get repairs. And overland. Man.
Yeah. While we may never know exactly what happened to Amelia Earhart.
CIA ate her.
And the crabs.
It blamed it on the crabs.
Her legacy lives on.
Yeah, it sure freaking does, dude. She still made strides. That's insane.
She was a huge proponent for encouraging women to reject social norms and to not be afraid to pursue opportunities they wanted, no matter how scary or intimidating they may have been. And she lived by that very clearly for the entirety of her life.
Start to finish. She had her morals and she held to them.
Yep. But yeah, that's all that I got. Here are my sources. I hope you guys enjoyed.
You better have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys think happened. And until next time. Bye! Bye.
Bye.